False imprisonment of Jane Doe number 15 and Jane Doe number 16, having occurred on July 17th, 1976, in the County of Sacramento, a violation of Penal Code Section 236. Is there any victim or a member of the victim's family that wish to be heard as to that uncharged act?
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Peggy. In the early morning of July 17th, 1976, my life was changed forever. I was 15 years old. My parents were out of town, and had left my sister and I alone overnight for the first time. We were home inside a locked house where we should have been safe. Mr. DeAngelo broke in and woke up my sister and tied her up. He then came to my room and woke me up with his hand over my mouth. After rolling out of bed and swinging at him, I was hit several times on the head before being tied up, gagged, and blindfolded. We were both threatened, and I was raped multiple times. We were both left with numbness in our hands for several months because our wrists were bound so tight. It hurt to brush my hair because he had hit me so many times on the head. There was so much emotional and physical trauma that I carried with me. My God, we were just high school kids living a normal life, going to school, church group, having friends over. Now, this horrific experience was part of me and who I would become, but we were lucky he didn't kill us. I was the second victim of the East Area rapist in Sacramento. No one knew about the crimes when I was raped, but they continued my entire junior and senior years of high school. Everyone in Sacramento was scared. There was constant talk everywhere, including school. Big headlines in both the local newspapers, the helicopter flying overhead nightly, tape recorder attached to the phone so that we could record if he should call us. All of these were constant reminders of the rape and the fear that wouldn't go away. How could my life ever go back to what I knew before that night in July? My normal teenage years were gone. My safety and security were taken away from me that night, and I would never get that back. I have had nightmares for years. Thank goodness for my husband, who has comforted me through so many of those. Somehow I thought that after the arrest, I would feel safe. But after 42 years, I still always look over my shoulder when someone approaches me from behind. I still sleep with 2 phones and the keys on the bed when my husband is away. And I still check windows and doors multiple times before going to bed when I'm alone. I still don't feel safe inside of a locked house when home alone at night. I have to do a lot of self-talk, reminding myself that I don't have to worry about him anymore, but old habits are hard to break. These things have become part of my life. I was determined that fear would not run my life, that my freedom would not be taken from me. I did my best, but the fear of this happening again was still there. I never knew if Mr. DeAngelo would return as he had threatened he would. I didn't know if he was dead or alive when the call came that an arrest had been made. A call I never thought would come. There were so many emotions, I couldn't sort them out, but he was in jail now. I was afraid to watch the press conference after the arrest. I didn't want a visual picture of what he looked like. What if it was someone I knew? But it was just an old man. I've had years of therapy trying to understand myself and the impact the rape had on my life. How could it not have affected me? In 2004, a counselor at our parish asked if I had ever forgiven the rapist. When I said no, she said that might be where I needed to start. She sent me to Sister Claire, and with her guidance, love, and by the grace of God, I found some way to forgive my rapist. I am forever grateful to her. The forgiveness is not about condoning the crimes or acts of violence against me. It's not about letting him off the hook. It's not about forgetting the rape. The forgiveness is for me, for my peace of mind, something that I so badly needed to move forward. I was able to give Claire the news of the arrest of Mr. DeAngelo before she passed away. I am thankful that I was able to have a pretty normal life. I am very fortunate. I have an amazing husband, 2 children, and 3 grandchildren. My parents, who are 90 and 91 today, are alive to know that he was arrested and will be held accountable for his crimes. My entire family has had to live with this crime and the memories from it. I've learned a lot these past 44 years. I'm strong, resilient, empathetic, loving, and insightful. I've also struggled a lot, but I've become stronger. Would I be the person I am today had I not been raped? I'll never know, for this experience is part of me. Life is hard. It has been important for me to speak up and to speak out. I've testified at the state capitol. I've spoken at a Take Back the Night rally and been involved with WEAVE and their sexual assault services. I began to be afraid that my rapist was still aware of who I was and where I lived and what I did. I decided that it may not be safe to be the rape survivor that was speaking up. I never got over the thoughts that he might return, that he may have kept track of me. Over the years, there have been many newspaper and magazine articles. The 10-year anniversary of the last rape, the 25-year anniversary. I spoke with a detective in 1988 because I wanted to see my rape report and make sure I hadn't made it all up. I wanted to know that I remembered what had happened to my sister and I. Amazingly, my memory was incredibly accurate. All of these things were reminders that the East Area rapist was never caught. These past 4 years have been filled with anxiety and all kinds of emotions. I spoke with the FBI in June of 2016 when they offered the $50,000 reward. I went to an event with Carol Daly for a panel interview in 2018 before Mr. DeAngelo was arrested. There have been numerous articles and pieces of news since the arrest, all of this bringing up the rape so many years ago. I only went to one hearing before June because I didn't want to waste any more energy than I needed to and allow Mr. DeAngelo to take up space in my mind and my life. The hearing in June was the most important one. I heard him admit to the crime and the rape. And now finally, the end of this trauma is here. He's a horrible man, and none of us have to worry about him anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else who wish to speak as to that incident? Go ahead, ma'am.
It's okay. Hello.
Good morning.
Your Honor, thank you for the opportunity to make this statement here today. I'll admit that this is a daunting task, but one that is so important for me as I garner my courage and take another step toward closure. This statement is made on behalf of many people. It is for my sister, the other people seated here in this courtroom, the many brave victims and their families, listening or watching via live stream, and those who are not physically present here in this courtroom today, including my parents, my brother, my own husband and children, and my dearest friends. I also want to take a moment to express my deep gratitude to all the DAs, detectives, and law enforcement who worked tirelessly over 44 years to find the East Area rapist and to bring him to justice. When my sister texted me the morning of April 25th, 2018, to tell me that the East Area rapist had been captured, I couldn't believe it. I was stunned and chills ran through my body. My text back to her was, "Are they sure?" After over 4 decades, he was no longer a ghost, but a real living and breathing monster who was living just across town, hiding in plain sight. I was overwhelmed with both a sense of dread and at the same time, an immense sense of relief. I was literally shaking. After 42 years, there was finally a glimmer of justice. This horrific, terrorizing, and traumatic crime committed by the East Area rapist in July of '76 left a lifelong emotional scar that's invisible to anyone but me and my sister. I was 16 years old at the time. Although this emotional scar doesn't surface much during the day, after so many years, it comes back like clockwork every night when my head hits the pillow. It usually begins with a long litany of questions, accompanied by fear and worry, which run through my mind. Are all the windows shut and locked? I think so, but maybe I should check them again to be sure. Are the doors locked and bolted? Did I set the alarm? Can anyone get in the house? What was that noise? Do I have a phone by my bedside if I need to call 911? What if I wake up and an intruder is in my room? What will I do? Another repercussion was being unable to sleep alone in a house, any house, even with the house alarm on for most of my life following this attack. It has really been a struggle. I can honestly say that it wasn't until the East Area Rapist was captured that my subconscious let me relax a little bit. I was 58 at the time. My sister and I were robbed of our innocence at such an early age in an absolutely horrific way. I was not raped, but my sister was, as she said, multiple times. Certainly, she has carried the heavier burden. I was in another room, tied up tight and gagged during the entire time the East Area Rapist was in the house. After he tied me up and threatened to kill me with a knife, he ripped the phone in my room out of the wall and went into my sister's room to tie her up too and commit his most heinous crimes. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. Your Honor, when you are just 15 and 16 years old, you would never believe or imagine that someone this evil could break into your house and commit crimes like this. My sister and I were good kids, did as we were told throughout our childhoods. That night, before the attack happened, we had locked all the doors, shut off the lights, and were in bed by 11. The East Area Rapist wrenched open the locked living room slider at 2 a.m. I experienced physical scars too. Numb hands, wrists, and fingers plagued both me and my sister for months because the defendant tied them so tightly. 2+ hours of being tied up amounted to several months of numbness. I still have a lot of questions I wish could be answered. Why us? How did the defendant know my parents were out of town and that my sister and I were home alone? Had we ever seen him before? Did he take anything from our house, from me, my sister, or my parents? Had he been in our house before that night? Those are incredibly scary questions to ponder. Writing this impact statement has caused me to consider how my life and our family's life would have been different if this crime hadn't happened to us. Certainly, my sister and I would have finished our high school years happier and more carefree, the way you're supposed to live out your life in high school. There would have been 40 less years of nighttime worrying. There would have been far less fear. Beyond that, I cannot know how it would have been different. We cannot know. Despite being a victim of the East Area Rapist, I moved forward and onward to live a happy, fulfilling, and meaningful life. I graduated from high school. Oh gosh. I graduated from college. I had a successful career. I have made many deep and lasting friendships. I met the love of my life and have been happily married for almost 22 years. I started my own family, and I credit my faith in God for sustaining me through the many ups and downs. The East Area Rapist did not have the last word in my life, even though this unexpected, terrifying, and sentinel event blindsided me then. I want the record to reflect that it did not define my life or take away my will to embrace all the good things that my future life experience had to offer. I have gained wisdom, courage, and empathy from each and every challenging experience of my life, including this one. I am grateful to be alive today and to have lived and thrived after this attack. In closing, I am very grateful and relieved that the East Area rapist will spend the rest of his life locked away in a prison cell where he belongs and where he can't hurt anyone else. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Are we prepared to go to count 14? Do you need to switch out? All right, very good, thank you. Ready to proceed? All right. Count 14, the defendant pled guilty to the charge of kidnapping with intent to commit robbery of Jane Doe number 1, having occurred on September 4th, 1976 in the county of Sacramento, a violation of Penal Code Section 209. In addition, the defendant admitted to the uncharged act as follows: rape of Jane Doe number 1 having occurred on September 4th, 1976 in the county of Sacramento, a violation of Penal Code Section 261. Robbery of Jane Doe number 1 having occurred on September 4th, 1976 in the county of Sacramento, a violation of Penal Code Section 211. Is there any victim or victim's family wish to speak as to count 14 or any of the uncharged acts?
Yes, I would like to speak for my mother, Patricia Murphy.
All right, when you are prepared, you may proceed.
Pretty difficult to prepare for this, but very happy. It's been a long time coming. I'd like to apologize to the survivor that was before me if you could overhear me. Didn't mean that. Today is totally, completely appropriate because today is Tuesday and it's the law of karma. So this is my impact statement for my mom, Patricia Murphy. And I don't know what kind of emotions will come out, so we'll find out. Your Honor, it's been 4 decades plus 4 years since Joseph DeAngelo attacked me at my parents' house. It happened during the Labor Day weekend, September 4th, 1976. I was loading a basket full of clean laundry into my car. He came up behind me out of nowhere on that Saturday night. That night forever changed me. I was 29 years old, about the same age as DeAngelo. I was separated from my husband, learning to live on my own after a long marriage. My daughter was 7 years old, and my sons 10 and 14. I had a good job with the state and was enjoying my newfound freedom and independence. But my world was different after the attack. I never felt safe for many years. It was hard for me to trust people. I was always looking over my shoulder, expecting someone to jump out at me. I wonder why he picked me to be one of his rape victims. I'll never know if he came upon me by accident or if he carefully planned out his attack beforehand. Who was he? Did he know my name? Did he know I would be at my parents' house that night? Will he follow me from now on? He punched me in the face and broke my nose. I had a concussion from falling backwards and hitting my head on the driveway. I saw stars. I lost consciousness. He shook me until it soon became clear that he and his knife had complete control over me for the next 2 hours. The trauma of which I am being traded for at this time, I could not escape. I did what I had to do to stay alive. He stole my car and my purse, which meant he knew my own address on my license and registration. Because of that, I moved out of my apartment so he couldn't find me and my children. I was somehow able to get on with my work and being a single mom. I went back to work with the remains of a black eye and a slightly swollen nose. The lump on my nose never went away. I learned to accept that is just part of my face. My coworkers would ask me how I got the black eye, and I would just say, I was mugged. That's what we told our children, too. What really happened became a dark secret that I kept buried, except for telling a few close friends. Just wasn't something I wanted to think about, much less talk about. I longed for things to go back to how they were. I pretended life was fine. But it wasn't. It was exhausting. It was hard to find joy. My mind was never at peace. I turned to alcohol and drugs to help blot it all out and numb my pain. How I felt about men changed after that night. I no longer cared if I were seen as attractive. I didn't trust anymore. I am blessed to have married my husband 32 years ago. He is on my healing journey with me. So is my family, except for my parents who have since passed away. My mom didn't want to move, so I continued to visit them there. I celebrated Christmas and other holidays at their house as if nothing ever happened. Sometimes there was no place to sit except on the organ bench he tied me to before he drank my dad's beer and left. I was always afraid that my dad would kill someone he thought could be my attacker. He was out looking for him with other people in the east area of Sacramento. I was diagnosed with complex PTSD soon after DeAngelo's arrest in April 2018. His arrest was a total shock. It stirred up all the painful memories of the past I had learned to block out. I was with my daughter when the news scrolled on my phone. She already knew what happened to me back in 1976. But it was a complete surprise to my sons. The news and its aftermath prompted me to have a mental breakdown, and I was hospitalized 5150 for 3 days in June of that year. I was emotionally exhausted, unstable, and not able to deal with reality. I had trouble sleeping after I found out they caught him. I had vivid nightmares. I was prescribed different medications to deal with my anxiety and depression. I'm now getting therapy from a woman who specializes in treating this type of trauma. Some people are wired wrong, and DeAngelo is one of them. Luck finally ran out for this messed up human being. At least a poor excuse for one. It is my hope that you punish him to the full extent of the law for the horrific crimes he committed. He admitted that he caused all the suffering and misery to so many victims over the past 40+ years. He truly is an evil monster with no soul. Did his little penis drive him to be so angry all the time? Did he study criminology so he could carry out his evil deeds as a bad cop without getting caught? Did his wife and daughters suspect anything? In closing, I want DeAngelo to end up in a place he deserves. I don't want him to like his surroundings one bit. I don't buy his act that he's on his last legs. The last years of his pitiful life ought to be spent in the worst prison in existence today. I have a favor to ask, though. When you hand down his sentence, please do not address him as sir anymore.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's my mom's.
Does anybody else wish to be heard as to this count 14?
Yes, I have one for myself as
Very good.
well.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I'm going to be respectful to the court. I'm going to admit that I cuss like a sailor or a trucker. I'm going to use initials. You'll know what I'm talking about. If they come out, I do apologize. I have respect for the court. I have respect for you, Honorable Judge Bowman, all of the lawyers here, all of the district attorneys,
I
and the
appreciate
defense
them. I
attorneys as
appreciate
well.
that, but this is your moment.
Yes, and also for the defense attorneys as well. Someone has to do this job, and you're willing to do this job. I really, really especially want to thank Maylin and Ann, the victim advocates. They completely advocate for us. And these are my words. These were the words of my mom. If I talk about my mom, they're my words. And I want to thank old friends who've resurfaced to be here to support me. And I'd like to thank new friends that I've met along the way who are also supporting me. It is an honor to be here today. This day has been a very long time coming. Joe raped my mom when I was 7. It broke up our family. My brother lived with us, and then he didn't. My mom was protecting us and couldn't tell us why. We were too young to understand. All I knew is that everything changed overnight. It affected both of my brothers, father, and my whole entire family. It affected all of us. I became my mom's mom. She went from being strong and independent and free to having PTSD. Any loud noise scared her. A backfire from a motorcycle, a firework, a cabinet shutting. Any loud noise was too much to take. Nobody could ever sneak up on my mom. It was just something you knew to never, ever do. Joe tried to take my mom away from me. Maybe it was Jerry. Either way, it didn't work. We are close. We are best friends. And mother-daughter, daughter-mother, we share the same name. When Joe violated her, she was Patricia Cosper. I am Patricia Cosper. I am not Jane Doe. Nor is my beautiful, sweet, strong mom, Patricia Cosper. Joe stole her car. We loved that car. It was super fast and it broke down all the time, but we loved it. He took that too. Joe took trinkets or photos. He drank beer from the fridge and ate snacks from my grandparents' pantry. That was not his intention. He intended harm and suffering. He was ruthless and cunning and patient and powerful. And now he is just locked up. Locked up for life. I would like to read the words of Jesus through Matthew 5:21. You have heard that it was said to the people long ago, "You shall not murder, and anyone who murders shall be subject to judgment." He knew better. He was treated extremely poorly as a child, abused and tormented. That is no excuse. Rot in jail, and then rot in prison. Turns out Joe won't be gone in the dark after all. Turns out I don't have to hunt Joseph DeAngelo, Golden State Killer, East Area Rapist, Original Night Stalker, Visalia Ransacker. I don't have to hunt him down after all. Michelle McNamara did that for me. Michelle McNamara, crime writer, didn't give up. And law enforcement did not give up. She was his final victim. Sorry, I'm almost done.
All right, you take your time.
I see her as a survivor because she got him caught. Her spirit survived. She got him caught. She did not give up, and now you rot. And you're not feeble. He's not feeble. And he's also a pedophile. Anybody who rapes anybody who's not of age is a pedophile and a rapist and a murderer. I'm only here because of the imprisonment, the false imprisonment, the rape of the statutes of limitations is over. So due to the fact that he tied up my mom and took her from room to room to room in my grandparents' home, the very first place I ever visited out of the hospital, the only place there was actually some happy memories of some happy family stuff going on. So I would just ask also to get him away from me because since I've been 7, he's been around. And then working in Roseville, living in Citrus Heights. I think he should go to the worst prison. I also think he should get away from Sacramento. I'm glad that we're here today. It is the capital. He violated the whole state. But if there's any county where he didn't do his damage, either way, it doesn't matter. He's never getting out. And this is my beautiful mom and my grandma and myself. And my grandfather was out looking for you to kill you. And let me just tell you, if my grandma got her hands on you, she would have killed you with her own bare hands. But you just keep doing your jumping jacks and your push-ups and your sit-ups and your stuff. So I'm going to sing a little song. It's really short. It's what my grandpa used to sing when we would say goodbye to somebody. And it goes like this. Bye-bye, Joe, bye-bye. Bye-bye, Joe, don't cry. And Joseph DeAngelo and his mother can go straight to hell. This is for him. I know he can't look at me, and he was blocked during this, whatever his plea thing was. But I mean this, obviously I haven't been able to forgive yet. I think after all this, after Friday, I'll be able to forgive. But in the meanwhile, this is what I have for him. Not you, defenders. Him in the orange. The subhuman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. I understand that the next scheduled victim to speak is going to be moved to Wednesday morning. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor. The next one would be tonight, Tuesday.
All right, thank you.
Do we have a moment to transition?
Certainly. We ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Furthermore, the defendant admitted to the uncharged acts as follows. Rape of Jane Doe, number 22, having occurred on October 18th, 1976 in the county of Sacramento, violation Penal Code Section 261. False imprisonment of Jane Doe, number 22, on October 18th, 1976 in the county of Sacramento, violation Penal Code Section 236. Is there any victim or member of victim's family that wish to be heard as to those uncharged acts?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead, sir.
First of all, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be here. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Pete Schultz, and I'm here with my two daughters on behalf of our mother, my sister, and my father to read our family victim statement for the record. We wish to thank all of the amazing law enforcement personnel, district attorneys, research persons, and retired personnel whose long-term commitment to this case have made this day possible for all those who have suffered because of this sick monster. On October 18th, 1976, Joseph DeAngelo entered our home in Carmichael, California. I was 11 years old, my sister was 5, and we were sleeping peacefully with our mother. Do you remember me? DeAngelo woke us up, tied me to the bedpost till my hands turned blue, locked my sister in her room, and performed horrific acts against my mother while she was bound and blindfolded. We have lived with this for 44 years as a family, and we are here to say that our mother is not Jane Doe number 22, and we are not just number 37 uncharged offense. We are the family of Winnie Schultz, and we have all survived because of her bravery and resolve to do whatever it took to save herself and her family. It may be uncharged because of the statute of limitations, but she will never be Jane Doe 22, and she will be Winnie Schultz, survivor who protected her family and had the courage and the bravery to survive that night. It took many years to get back to a sense of normalcy, with my dad sleeping with a baseball bat, my sister sleeping under the bed. But we moved on as a family. Winnie is a college graduate. She was an elementary school teacher. She was a ski instructor at Squaw Valley. She survived breast cancer, and she's also a recent stroke survivor. She is still married to my dad after 55 years. They celebrate this Friday. She raised two great children, and myself and my sister, Jenny, and has four amazing grandchildren. Our case was the seventh in Sacramento area and is known as the case that brought public awareness to the growing danger and the nature of these ongoing serial crimes. Winnie told the investigating officers who asked if she had any recognizable scars or tattoos that her head was covered the whole time and she was bound. But she was certain he had a very inadequate penis. DeAngelo may have stolen our mother's wedding ring, her jewelry, and $250 in donation monies I had collected intended for the American Cancer Society. But he did not steal our hopes, dreams, and the spirit of our family. We grieve for those victims who were less fortunate and lost loved ones. While we all have suffered for 44 years, your suffering, sir, has just begun. God bless all the victims, their loving families, and all the dedicated law enforcement professionals who have made this day possible and gave us this opportunity. Sincerely, Winnie Schultz and family. And for me, a tribute to my mother for her courage, her bravery, her good sense of humor, her love. And because of her, we've all been inspired to go on and to enjoy our lives. And may she enjoy the sun on her face, the love in her heart, listening to her grandkids talk on the phone, enjoying a nice cup of coffee, and sleeping well tonight knowing that you are gone and the boogeyman is done. I love you, Mom. Thank you, Your Honor, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it.
Schultz.
Thank you.
Your Honor, we are a bit ahead of schedule at this point. The next victim will speak via video, so if we could take our morning break to set that up, Your Honor.
All right, folks,
Thank
we're
you.
going to go ahead and take a morning recess. We'll reconvene close as we can to about 5 minutes after 10.